It is Tuesday, September 24th, year of our Lord 2019, pre-algebra, and we learned yesterday that there are these things called integers. Integers are positives and negatives, or more precisely, positive numbers and their, nice job, opposites. And there's this thing called absolute value. And absolute value is symbolized by two vertical lines on either side of the number. And what it means is, how far is it from zero? Very good again so far. And then we learned that there are certain rules we abide by when it comes to adding integers. Because now that you have negative numbers thrown in there, it isn't just as simple as 3 plus 6 and 4 plus 11. What if the signs are different? Well, we learned that if the signs are the same, then it is kind of like 3 plus 6. If you got two positive numbers, 3 plus 6 is 9. If you have two negative numbers, negative 4 or negative 3 plus negative 6 is negative 9. So if the signs are the same, if both integers have the same sign, then just add them together and use that sign. The only time it becomes difficult, possibly, is if the signs are different. And we remember our mantra. If the signs are different, find the difference. And then, what sign is going to be for the answer? What sign? If you got two different signs, how do you know if it's going to be positive or negative when you get your final answer? If the signs are different, find the difference. Once you do that, what sign do you use?
The one that's greater.
You use the sign of the greater. Technically, it's the greater absolute value, right? So if you have a negative 9 plus 6, what's the difference between 9 and 6? 3. What's the final answer going to be if it's negative 9 plus 6? The answer is going to be negative 3 because 9 is the greater absolute value. Make sense? All right, I don't even know if I have to go over yesterday's homework, but I guess I'll go over it quickly. Starting on page 55. Ready? Starting with number 9, right?
Yeah.
9 through...
9 through 32. What?
No, it's 9 through 16, and then
And then it was 25 through 32.
25 through 32. Ready?
And then I did more than that.
Here's what it should look like. Across 9 through 12. Greater than, less than, greater than. So, do you remember how to make your symbols?
Yeah.
Is that what 9 through 12 looks like? You probably wrote them vertically, huh? I'm doing it as it is across the top. 13 through 15. Greater than, less than, greater than, less than. So in order, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Are there any questions on that? Is there one of those that you're not sure about, Micah? Good?
Yeah.
The further right you are on the number line, the greater the value, right? All right. Isaac, what's greater? Negative 2 or negative 8? Is he right, Noah? What's greater, negative 2 or negative 8?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. Because you're not looking at the 8, you're looking at negative 2 being further right on the number line, right? Negative 2. Think of it, listen, if you ever get stuck or confused, think of the temperature. What's colder? What's warmer then? Negative 2 or negative 8? Negative 2, so it's greater. All right, numbers 25 through 32. The answers are, ready? Listen fast. 32. Negative 9. You see the difference? In the first one, number 25, the absolute value bars were around the negative 32. So the absolute value is 32. That's how far it is from 0. The second one, the negative sign or the opposite sign is outside the absolute value bars. Make sense?
Wait, what is the negative 32 for number 25?
No, 25, the absolute value is 32. Because the absolute value, Kiara, means how far it is from 0 on the number line. Negative 32 is way over here, right? If you imagine my number line from yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, how far is it from 0?
32.
32. So that's the answer. Number 27, negative 29. Number 28. Raise your hand. What's the answer to 28? Dominic?
5.
5. Sid, read this with me. Ready? Number 28. The opposite of negative 5. What's the opposite of negative 5? 5. You see how I read that? Oh, and by the way, if there's two negative signs, an even number of negative signs, it means it's going to end up positive. If there's an odd number of negative signs, like number 32, the answer is going to be negative. The answer to 32 is negative 4. Yeah, I went from number 28 all the way to 32 because now I'm going to start going faster. Is that all you had for those pages?
And we also have 2 through 11.
No, I know, but for those pages, that's all you had to do, right?
Yeah. No, it's
Number 2, page 60. The answer is 2. Number 3, the answer is negative 12. Listen, get these answers, and if you don't understand after, again, it's one of those situations you're like, oh, I see, if you missed it. And if you don't understand it, I need to know before you leave today. The answer to number 4 is negative 2.
Oh, negative. I thought you said negative 12.
The answer, okay, let's start again. Everybody listening?
Yeah.
Too much noise. Listen. The answer to 2 is 2. The answer to 3 is negative 12. The answer to 4 is negative 2. And the answer to 5 is 0. The answer to 6 is 19. The answer to 7 is negative 32. The answer to 8 is negative 118. Signs are the same. Just add them. Use that sign. The answer to 9, negative 34. Everybody got that?
Yeah.
The answer to 10, negative 8. The answer to 11, negative 17. If you missed it, you got to mark it. Don't try to hide. And if you don't understand after you check it again, I need to know. All right, here's what you're working on today. Wait, this is not homework. We're going to go over these at about, what time we get out of here, 10:34?
Yeah.
We're going to go over these at 10:15. Ready? Numbers 13 through 26. That's 1 minute
On
each.
page 60?
Go.
Yeah.
Page 61. 13 through, page 61, 13 through 26. We are going over them shortly. It's not your homework because we're diving into subtracting integers when we're done with this. And that'll be the most complicated thing we've
Do
done
we
yet.
have to write down?
You do not have to write it out. Just write the answer. Page 61, 13 through 26.
I was not here, so how do you do it?
Okay, so if you weren't here, Zacchaeus, Rachel, negative 2 and negative 1. Here's the rules. Ready? If the signs are the same, just add them and keep that sign. What's 2 plus 1? And they're both negative, so the answer is negative 3. Got it? You with me?
Yeah.
If the signs are different, find the difference. So, for number 14 or number 15, you have a 3 and a 7. What's the difference between 3 and 7, Zacchaeus? 4. Now look at the two numbers. Which one has the greater absolute value, negative 3 or 7? No, 7. So the answer is positive 4. Rachel, Zacchaeus, if the signs are different, find the difference between the two numbers and use the sign of the larger one. Since the 7 was a positive, it's positive 4. Repeat after me. If the signs are different, find the difference.
don't know. How do you do number 23?
Well, since it's all addition, then you don't have to worry about order of operations. You just go from left to right. You got negative 57 plus 31. Signs are different. Find the difference between those two,
And then half.
and then go to the next one. Yep.
You know what? This is not negative because.
Not necessarily, because that's if it's only one number. There's a bunch of signs. Back a number. Is that clear? What they have? The opposite of the opposite of the opposite of 4. That's not. The signs are the same. Just add those two numbers together and keep that sign. The signs are different. Find the difference. Use the sign of the larger. Technically, it's the larger absolute value. If you weren't here yesterday, what's absolute value? It's how far is it from
0.
0. So 3 and negative 3 have the same absolute value. 3 obviously is greater than negative 3, right? But when it comes to absolute value, they're the same. They're equal. We have all these people done already?
Yeah. No. 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 I just got 18. I'm on 19. I'm on 19.
Problem is, if you're done and someone else isn't, that doesn't give you license to disrupt, distract, disrespect. You know what this is? This, please.
What do you do with this?
Remember your Spencer's using the back as an affirmation when he does the odd ones. Okay, yeah, that's what that's for. I'm not sure if I got this one right, so you go back and check. Oh, it makes me feel good. I got it right. That's what that's for. Not to just write the answers down. It doesn't do you any good. Yeah. Parentheses matter. Where you at? No, they're just making sure that you know that that's negative 49. So are the signs the same in number 18? If the signs are the same, just add those two numbers together and keep that sign. Sure.
Thank you. Hey. Oh, it's not third.
You're done?
What's it through? It's 13 to 26. Okay. I'm also confused on the parentheses.
Okay, so it's just to set it off from having a plus sign and then a negative sign right after it.
So like.
So don't worry about the parentheses there. It's negative 49. They didn't want it to look awkward putting negative 63 plus minus negative 49, so they put it in parentheses.
Well, I get it. I feel like they just don't matter, but then I don't know.
Yeah.
They do matter.
You understand why they do it though?
Yeah.
Avoid confusion. Instead of having plus minus. You understand, Case?
Is 0 plus negative 25 25?
0 plus negative 25 is
Negative.
negative.
Huh?
Negative 25.
But it's not just. Wow.
For a difference, you find a difference.
Oh.
The goal was you'd have 5 more minutes. I'm looking around and seeing so many people done, but I'm not going to continue on because there's some that aren't done. So please Stay quiet a couple more minutes. It's kind of, I hope it's good that you're all done. I hope that means you know what you're doing and it's rather easy. Ethan, what do you do if you're adding integers and the signs are the same?
Then you keep the same. You keep the same sign.
So you just add them together and keep the same sign? Micah, Fridell, what do you do if you're adding integers but you got a positive and a negative? Signs are different. You find the difference between the two numbers, right? Now, is your answer going to be positive or negative though? One was positive, one was negative. How do you determine that?
Whichever one's higher.
Whatever one's larger. But I need to stress as the teacher that, remember, it's the larger absolute value.
How do you tell it's absolute?
How far it is from 0.
Oh, I thought you were like.
So in other words, -9 plus 3. Find the difference. 6. Use the sign of the larger. Well, the larger number is 3, but you don't use that sign. Use the sign of in front of the -9 because it's the larger absolute value.
What is the absolute value?
With the signs are the same, you just add them and use that sign.
But like, is it always like is the number 22 is 1.8 the absolute value?
Yeah.
Okay,
So you got an answer of -30. You got an answer of -30, right? Anybody need more time?
No. Wait, yes. I'm on yes. I have one left.
Okay. Ladies, big game today.
Yeah. I might just die on the floor.
Get to play the Clippers and Holy.
So are you like the odds are not as good as.
Hey,
Why?
we are very excited.
The varsity swept them.
They're really good though.
They did.
Yeah, they're really good.
We played them
We wanted
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Listen fast. Ladies and gentlemen, if you don't want homework, you would be quiet and listen fast. Ready? Number 13, the answer was -3. Number 14, the answer was -19. Number 15, the answer was 4. 16, the answer was 2. 17, what did they do wrong? They added them together and they kind of got confused. They added them and used the sign of the larger. No. The answer there should have been -3. Number 18, -112. Number 19, -109. Number 20, -25. Number 21, -82. Number 22, -30. Finally, number 23, you get a positive result. 12. 12. If you missed it, mark it. Figure out where you went wrong. If you can't, let me know. The answer to number 23 was 12. Number 24, -29. Number 25, -3. And number 26, -221. As I look around, I get a lot of positive feedback from your body language and facial expressions. So, together, you don't have to write this. Ready? John Mitchell. The sum of two integers is blank negative. The sum of two negative integers. Is it always negative, sometimes negative, or never negative? The sum of two negative integers is always negative. Number 28, Noah. Use one of these words. Always, sometimes, or never. Pay attention, Micah. The sum of two positive integers is blank negative.
Never.
Never. Number 29, Lauren. the sum of a positive integer and a negative integer is blank negative. Always, never, or sometimes. The sum of a positive integer and a negative integer is a sum of a positive
Never.
and a negative is sometimes negative because it depends on the absolute value. And number 30, Preston, the sum of an integer and 0 is, it's a tough one.
Always? No. Wait, hold on.
This is a trick question.
Oh, no. I don't know.
Sometimes. How would it be? How would it be that the sum of an integer and 0 is 0? Yeah,
Use the integer can be 0.
0 plus 0.
Yeah.
Crazy question. All right, ready for today? Subtracting integers. Let's dive right into the bottom of page 63, notebook guy. What's the rule? What's it say? Somebody read it out loud. The little box, rectangular box at the bottom of 63. It says, Case,
Subtract an integer, add its opposite.
that's pretty simple, or is it? To subtract an integer, add its opposite. What? Isaac, here's what we're learning today. When it comes to working with integers, or this would even go back to your arithmetic days, you can actually look at it like this. You never subtract, you always add. Is that weird? Listen, this is what it's saying. Is that news to anyone? Okay. 6 plus 3 is 9. To subtract integers, 6 minus 3 is 3. What if we said that there's no such thing as subtraction anymore? What if we saw 6 minus 3 as 6 plus negative 3? And then we just use the rules we just learned yesterday. What if instead of subtracting, we always thought of it as addition, except we're adding the opposite of 3? Are these two the same? What's going to be the answer down here? 3. 6 minus 3 is 3. 6 plus negative 3 is 3. Because the signs were different, we found the difference and used the sign of the larger. The rule says to subtract an integer, add its opposite. So in effect, Jaden, what we're saying is, don't look at anything as subtraction anymore. Watch. I'm going to add its opposite. Watch what I do. You're not watching. Instead of 4 minus 3 being 1, Sid, I'm going to add its opposite. Are you ready? No, everybody's. We got all the cool people like, I don't need to watch what he's doing. Spencer's like, would you just get done so I can get my homework done? Ready? Is that going to give you the same answer?
Yeah.
Instead of subtracting, think of it as you're always adding. So that simple rule, to subtract an integer, add its opposite. What did we learn yesterday? If the signs are the same, add them together and keep that sign. If the signs are different, find the difference, keep the sign of the larger. What's the answer to this one? 1, same as it was if it was 4 minus 3. You catching on? How about this? What would be the answer to that? Negative 4 minus 2. Well, if I went to the number line and I started at negative 4, and then I subtracted 2, let's look at the number line. What do you think the answer would be? If I started at -4, if the temperature when you wake up 3 months from now is -4, and you're like, please be no school, and then you find out it goes down, it gets subtracted 2 more degrees, what would the temperature be at that point? John? -6. So the answer to this problem is -4 minus 2 is -6. Watch. Don't think of it as subtracting anymore. Add the opposite. Now you just use the rules for addition. Signs are the same. Add them together. Just like you thought the answer was going to be. -4 minus 2 is actually -4 plus -2.
That does not make any sense.
Okay, let's do it again.
I thought it would be -2.
Oh,
Yeah.
I understand it.
Oh,
No, listen.
You can only add, and then you make a mark.
Right. Here's another way to look at it. Change the last 2 signs.
Yeah.
Let's look at this guy. There's a negative sign, there's a +2, right? Change the last 2 signs. And then use your addition rules. Or if you prefer, just make everything addition as long as you change the sign of the next guy.
But then
How about this?
you change the sign.
Watch this.
Why are you allowed to?
Okay, why are you allowed to do that? Because look, if you started at -4 and you subtracted 2, what would be your answer? -6. You woke up, it was -4 degrees. It went down 2 degrees, -6, right?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. You're actually adding the opposite. Subtraction is actually adding the opposite. Now that you've been informed of what integers are, see, from kindergarten through 5th grade or 6th grade, they kept this a secret from you. They made you learn how to subtract and do all that borrowing, and now they're telling you, oh, you never really had to subtract. You could have just added the opposite. Well, it's hard for the early elementary brain to understand what this opposite stuff is, the other side of the number line. So you're adding the opposite. Listen, don't over analyze it. Don't complicate it. Just change it to, watch, negative. This is a hard one. Look at all these negative signs. Now, I want you in your mind to think of what you think the answer is going to be, and I'll reveal it in like 5 seconds. Think, what do you think the answer is going to be? I'm going to follow the rules I just said. To subtract integers, add the opposite. Watch this. Add the opposite. So now I've got an addition problem. Signs are different. Find the difference. Use the sign of the larger. Who in their brain got -12 before I started? You don't have to. If you didn't, it's okay. That's the hardest thing you've done so far
I got
this year.
12 and I didn't even do that.
If you got 12, you're way off. If you got 12, you're 24 off.
It's -12.
It's -12. See the difference? If you got 12, like I've had students in the past, well, all I did was not put the negative sign. Okay, so like say the answer was 6,000. Now you're 12,000 off. If you didn't use the negative sign, that's a big difference. Do you understand why it's -12? No, I'll write the original again. -16 minus -4. I turned it into plus +4. I added the opposite. Or if you prefer, change these last 2 signs. Then use the rules we learned yesterday. The signs were different, so I found the difference between these 2 numbers is 12. And which sign did I use? The sign that was with the larger. You're not subtracting, you're adding the opposite.
No, but you have to find the difference. So
Okay, well that's part of the rule. The
Does
signs
it
are
make
different.
It's when like you're doing it since you can't subtract, you make it a plus, and then you just make another. What if it already has one?
Listen, the only way it's going to come to you is to dive in and do it. Ready? We're going to throw you in the pool right now. Numbers, ready? You got like 9 minutes. Numbers 12 through 24.
Is this one more?
Yeah, 12 through 24, page 65.
that's not bad. If you need.
And raise your hand. We got 9 minutes left. Don't leave without knowing. Give you a freebie since we're just starting. Negative 13 minus 12. Some of you are going to be developing the ability to look at that and automatically know the answer. Because maybe you're going to think like me and think, oh, if it's negative 13 degrees out and it goes down 12, it's negative 25. If you can do that, that's great. But here's the rule. Negative 13 minus 12 is actually negative 13 plus negative 12. Signs are the same. Add them together, keep that sign. So for the first one, you got negative 25, you did it right. Negative 14 minus negative 14. What?
Is
Look.
that zero?
Just add the opposite, or if you're like Elise, I'm just going to go, see these last two signs? Whoop, whoop. So now I got negative 14 plus 14.
Zero.
0.
I got that one wrong. I was like, I keep getting two wrong.
Dina,
Yeah.
don't subtract, watch. Add the opposite, or just change the last two signs. And it's not magic. We showed you on a number line. It's not magic. There's a reason for it.
Is it positive plus positive? Because it changes them.
So now use the rules.
17.
17. Because you added the opposite. You changed the last two signs. So it becomes 11.
How did I get 5? 9.
Yeah.
So, for 15, would you just subtract it because it is positive?
Okay.
Do you have to add?
9. Is it 9 minus 17?
Yeah.
Okay. Watch. David, is this what you had your hand up for? What do you need? Okay, so this is 15. Ready? We'll be right with you, David. 9 minus 17, Isaac. Make sure you got it right. I'm not going to subtract. I'm going to add
Minus 17.
the opposite.
Yeah.
Now, here's my rules. If the signs are different, find the difference between 17 and 9 is 8. What sign am I going to use? A negative.
Negative.
The answer is negative 8.
But they're both positive. That's what I was.
No, or thinking logically, or if you need to make a number line, think with me. Ready? It's 9 degrees outside.
Yeah.
The original problem was 9 minus 17.
Yeah.
9 degrees outside, and a even colder front comes through, and it goes down 17 degrees. Is it going to be positive or negative temperature? It was started out at 9, and it went down 17 degrees. Use logic. Is the temperature going to be in the positives or the negatives? It was at 9 and went down 17.
Negative.
It's going to be in the negatives.
Oh, it would be positive if it was 7 minus 9, right? Or I mean 17 minus 9.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
David's got 16. Nick,
Wait, I have a question about the answer. -6.
do you think it is?
Is it?
Are you-
That's what I got. No, I got actually.
Did you use the rules?
Yeah.
Number 16, negative 18 minus negative 12. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Zacchaeus. Here's the rule. Don't subtract, add. Watch. Add the opposite. Or, if you prefer, change the last two signs. Negative 18 plus positive 12. Go back to yesterday's rules. Signs are different. Find the...
Different.
What's the difference between 18 and 12?
6.
6. Which sign are you going to use?
Negative.
The negative, because 18 is larger than 12. We've almost done all your homework for you.
Not really.
We've done through 16.
It's only.
Mrs. Reed put these in our heads
This
so
is
much
fun.
faster. It's so
It's
fun.
fun. Algebra's fun.
Yeah, mainly because we learned this so much last year. Like, we did inventory every day. Every day for probably at least 3 months.
Good.
So now it's just like, oh, then we get to the rest of the math.
And, yeah.
Story.
Don't talk about this.
Have a great day, Julia, Johnny, and Sawyer.
Bye, Julia. Bye.
Bye, Johnny and Sawyer, too.
Bye. Bye, Julia.
Bye, Sawyer.